Hey and welcome to Neverwinter with Aragon. So we have a lot of different healing companions within the game. So I went and tested them all out to figure out which one you should be using as a summoned companion to help keep your party healed. Now there are definitely different companions that you could use instead of just pure healing, like debuffs and buffs to either give your party more damage so you can run through the content a bit easier and thus they won't take as much damage, or you could just use some companions to buff up their survivability. But there are very few of those and very few that are actually very effective. So you might want to consider running a companion that can go and give that extra bit of heal to back you up. Now if you're a very competent healer in endgame, a lot of these healer companions won't do a whole lot for you. And I'll go through these test results with you guys just here. Now first things to note is indeed indomitable runestones do affect a lot of the companions' output in healing. There are of course a few companions and their powers that are not affected by this whatsoever. And I shall go through those companions. I've made some charts that you can use then to compare them as well. So initially we went and just tested all of these companions versus this big boss dummy. I just make sure I have the aggro of this boss dummy, and then I have my companion which should heal me, and I've recorded all that data then using this combat tracker, and that way I can find out exact amount of heal it does per second. And with all this data we can then go and see exactly how much it's healing for per its hits, and then overall how much it actually heals for over a period of time. And we have all this data here. I have it all set up there, but I've made it easier and more presentable to you guys rather than just scrolling through these logs with a few numbers. So I've made some sheets, and here we have the first chart: summoner incoming heal with the indomitable runestones. So this would be the amount of healing that you receive from the companion while you're taking damage and while that companion is also in combat. And that is exactly translated from me just having a companion summoned while I attack this dummy. It deals damage to me, and you can see there Celeste healing me pretty neatly. Again, with this chart we can see how they compare with each other. Now the Dread Warrior is the top there. I've already made a video, but I didn't actually show the data. Now the Dread Warrior can heal pretty consistently. This is the average heal per second, over 21,000 for the Dread Warrior. We go down to the Dedicated Squire, the Hellmite Paladin Ghost. Keep in mind that Ghost will require you to actually hit the target to benefit from this heal, so it will depend on you as the attacker. And thus, in an AoE environment, this Hellmite Paladin Ghost is no good. He could just hit one little puny guy, you could even kill it and put its seal on it, and then it's used and nobody really gains the heal. And you go down all the way through those companions and you can see how they compare against each other with those data values. Now this wasn't enough for me. I had to go and test it out with regards to how much healing they can do for the rest of the party. So if you're running one of these dungeons with 5 players, you're ideally wanting a companion that won't just heal you, because what's the use of that, especially if you're a healer? You want them to be healing your other comrades. So I've went and made a chart based on the amount of heal that they can do to everybody, and that's this party heal. And again, this is still with all 6 indomitable runestones. We can see the Dread Warrior is gone. Unfortunately, this Dread Warrior does say in his tooltips of his powers that he'll be able to affect allies. Unfortunately, he can only affect the summoner, giving you buffs of power rating and also a buff of that heal. So you'll be able to heal pretty neatly over time. But again, you can see that this does not affect your party members. So he's completely knocked off the chart, along with many of the other companions, as you can see there when we compare this chart to this chart here. Now this is the companions rated with their powers that can heal everybody. You can see that some of the companions won't heal everybody with some of their powers. The Cleric Disciple, the Battlefield Medic. You can see up here they have 13,000, they have 12,000 heal per second. But because of their powers not actually affecting everybody, we can see that here that this battlefield medic won't use his combat heal on everybody else, just the summoner and himself. Same with the cleric disciple, only will do healing word on the summoner. The advantageous thing of this dedicated squire is that his cleansing touch can affect all allies, but you're going to have to be within melee range, so you're going to have to be grouped up. Can be pretty neat in a trial because you generally are. And then his smite is about 15-foot range to get affected by that heal. And that gives us that chart. Again, keep in mind this Hellmite Paladin Ghost is only going to be effective when you're in a boss fight, when you have an enemy with high hit point count and everybody's hitting it. That's when the Hellmite Paladin Ghost can do pretty well if everybody's taking a lot of damage over time, and he can get that seal on the target. As for the dedicated squire, that can be just more reliable there. In third place, we just have Liland, along with very closely the silver scaled cleric and the cleric disciple. They're pretty much identical. You can even look at their powers. Their main heal for everybody is this sacred flame. Their healing word only affects the summoner. You can see exactly the same power setup with this cleric disciple. You don't even see that I've switched to it there. You can see you switch back to the silver scaled cleric. Yeah, their powers are identical and they pretty much output the same amount of healing. But again, this is with those indomitable runestones, and those indomitable runestones, as we can see, state that they will increase the companion's damage by 20% per runestone. And you can stack that up and you can slot in a total of 6 of these offensive runestones, giving 120% more damage to your companion. You'd think this is just damage, but apparently it does affect healing, as we can see with this chart. You can see the Hellmite Paladin Ghost is not affected whatsoever. Every time you hit the target with that seal, you gain 3% of your hit points. And if you can hit just as often as I can with my at-will power there, Valorous Strike, every 0.35 seconds, then you will gain similar heal value on average of just over 15,000. This again is heal per second. Dedicated Squire has took a bit of a hit, as we can see, down from that 16.8 thousand down to just over 13,000, and that is because his cleansing touch is affected by indomitable runestones. Nicely enough, his smite is not, and that way he has lost a little bit of damage from his cleanse, but that's about it. Silver scaled cleric, cleric disciple, you can see both of them have not lost any of their heal value. As you can see here, they're still over 7,000 because their only ability that is affected by indomitable runestones is that healing word ability that they both have. And if we're not taking into consideration just heals on the summoner, then that is what we are left with. As for the other companions, they're just healing very little as it is, so not too much point really going into each of those. But again, they seem to be affected in some of their powers, and the Alchemist Experimenter is a bit of an experiment, and for some reason without indomitable runestones it seems to heal a bit more often. Not sure why. And so there we have it. Those are all of the companions that I do have. Here's the little notepad that I used for the testing. Anything with an I was affected by indomitable runestones, and then I had to figure out which powers exactly, and there are a few companions I am missing, namely the Barbarian Shaman, the Elite Intern and the Faithful Initiate, and also the Snowy Fawn Stronghold Cleric and the Son of Soon. If you have any of those companions that I'm missing and you want me to test it out, it would be very nice if you could copy it to the preview server and give it to me there, or just send it to me, and then I could make sure to have that thing tested out. Right now, the Barbarian Shaman, for some reason, is nearly 2 million on the auction house. I have tested it on some alternate characters, which I do have it. It used to be a leveling reward. The heals really don't seem to be a lot. No way enough that's going to compare with Dedicated Squire or our Hellmite Paladin Ghost with that effective heal. And that's going to conclude this video. Again, this is the chart with just the healing that the companion can do to its summoner, and then this is the healing it can do for the entire party. So for every other party member you have, it can heal everybody for this heal per second of course, as long as they're within the specified range and area that the companion needs to be able to heal them. And then this is without the Indomitable Runestones. And again, I'm going to go and build up a document much like I have with the damage companion tests here, and we have a next page there with the healing companions. I've yet to go and fully build it up, but you should be able to see it there when it's fully done. So if you're not too fussed at looking at the data yourselves and you just want my opinions of what you should use, well, of course, we can see the dedicated squire really performs well along with the Hell Might Paladin Ghost, but again in only boss fights in certain situations. The Diva Champion is a pretty neat companion along with the Stronghold Cleric for being able to give that 5% shield, which can stack on top of Paladin shields. He does have an average heal, which that can be rated as, which is on my charts as you could see previously. And otherwise there is the Silver Scaled Cleric Disciple, there is the Cleric Disciple as well. Lilend can also do a pretty neat job there. But keep in mind she'll need those Indomitable Runestones to perform well at all, as you can see the difference between her there and her there. So again, hopefully this has been somewhat insightful and helpful to you guys. And finally, I'd like to give a massive thank you to all of my channel members for helping me keep my channel going. And if I presented this well, consider leaving the video a like. If you're new around here, consider subscribing. We'll see you guys around. Goodbye for now.